Welcome back to the Grantee Spotlight. My name is Drew Malin, and I'm with Kadena and the UNITT team. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks. Great to be here.
So to just get things started, would you guys mind saying what your name is and what position you are at UNITT?
So my name is Pekka Mäkelä, and I'm the founder and CEO of UNITT.
And I'm Mikko Ville-Valinto, and I'm acting as the CTO.
And I'm Jussi Mäkelä, and I'm the COO, so managing all the kind of operational other such things.
Great. It's awesome to have you guys on the show today. Just to get things started, would you mind telling us a little bit about what UNITT is and what you guys are doing?
Sure. So UNITT is a short for Universal Transaction Token. And it's a project where we have built a decentralized messaging app. In the app, every interaction can be monetized. So basically, it is very similar from the user experience to, let's say, WhatsApp or other instant messaging applications. But with every interaction, you can actually ask or send tokens. This can be in exchange of content or just by, for example, real life, like I've received a coffee from you, so I can pay it with tokens to you back. What is so special about this then? Well, when you can tokenize every interaction, it means that you can send and receive value according to the interaction you're having. For example, if I am a content creator and I have some interesting stuff that you might be interested in reading or looking at, I can send the data to you in exchange of tokens. So you can't receive the information unless you agree to pay me some tokens for it. But the direction is agnostic. So you can actually also send tokens with content. For example, if I was a advertiser and I would like to buy your attention, I could send you my material and give you some tokens if you open it and read it. So this gives us a very versatile way of exchanging value between the people inside the chat. Also, if we think about all the other things that are currently based on chat-like user experience or such as different kinds of artificial intelligence like ChatGPT type of solutions and all the specialized solutions that are coming. Currently, the only way to monetize these kinds of exchanges is like a subscription-based model, and that will be a problem probably for many newcomers to the business because the market is so saturated with subscription-based business models. For example, I think we all are already paying for, Disney Plus, Netflix, Spotify, and all sorts of subscription-based services. And there's a limit how much stuff we can, deduct from our credit cards each month. So we need solutions where you can actually exchange value in a pay-per-view basis. And this is where we plan to be in this market with a simple way to monetize chat-based interactions.
Great. So when we think of messaging platforms that we know today, like iMessage, WhatsApp, etc., and we think of UNITT, the main differentiating factors, if I'm understanding you correctly, are the element of monetization, the subscription model, and the tokenization aspect of UNITT. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. So even though that the user experience seems to be very similar to your garden variety instant messaging service. Under the hood, it's totally different business. So we are like truly decentralized in a way that all the users will retain all the ownership of their identity, their connections, and their data, and they can move it out from the system if needed. So there is no platform, but there is the only structure we are basing the solution on is, of course, the Kadena blockchain. This way, it's very different from the other messaging services, which are platform-based, and the platform provider then owns your identity and owns all the data you put into the platform by using the chat.
Right, but then with UNITT, the person using the application would be able to maintain the control of their data that they put on the app.
Exactly. So all the exchanges inside the app are private, so they are also peer-to-peer, and they are also encrypted. So we don't have access to those exchanges. And also with our discovery feature, which is a mechanism you can use to sort of publish your content to the blockchain and establish your ownership of the content. That means that the content is still in your domain, but you have sort of made a claim in the blockchain that you are the publisher and owner of that content.
Right. So it's so private that not even you, being the team, would be able to see a message that I'm sending back and forth to my friend.
Correct. We are using the same sort of user keys for the encryption, and there is no way to actually intercept or look at the exchanges that are happening inside the decentralized application.
And I guess it's worth, just to kind of add, is the same with regard to what Pekka was saying with the discovery feature, that we are not securing anything necessarily by blockchain. It's not that it's kind of in the blockchain, but it's simply the possession is 9/10 of the law. If I have the content and it is on my server somehow, on my website, whatever that might be, and I only expose that, I'm the only one who can sort of change it, who can take it out, who can add it, whatever that might be. So none of it is kind of like in our servers, none of it is kind of duplicated by us or us, anybody else in there. So what better way to sort of ensure that you remain in control of your own data and your own content by the fact that you actually keep hold of the location where it actually is.
And if I can also add, we are using separate key pairs for the discovery, content publishing, and consumption versus the messaging functionality. So even if you publish certain type of content or consume certain type of content in the discovery side, that can't be directly linked to your messaging app. So because we take privacy very seriously, so you wouldn't want to necessarily advertise to all your private contacts what kind of content you're publishing and so on. So we want to sort of keep the keys separate. And in the future, we hope to have key rotation and that sort of functionality, so you can sort of if necessary, you can detach yourself from the previous activity while still maintaining the same account and so on.
Yeah, because this is the issue with blockchain. Obviously, everything is public. So if you can work out somebody's account address, wallet address, whatever you call it, you can sort of work it out and see from the interactions who are they paying and what for and all that sort of thing. So potentially on a content, on a media consumption basis, you could see that, okay, what kind of a stuff this person actually reads or pays for, something like that, and this could obviously be compromising. It's also kind of very private information. So exactly this kind of separate keys and all that, you can maybe figure out somebody's account is for payments, but you can't figure out what their kind of content side necessarily is. So what do they consume themselves, for instance?
Sure. So I'm hearing a heavy focus on privacy. I'm hearing a focus on making a strong user experience. What motivated you to create a messaging app specifically in the Web3 space? What were the motivating factors?
So this is a good question, and the answer is quite sort of multifaceted. So first of all, we in our sort of like previous professional lives, we've been working with publishing and social media marketing and community building and these kind of things, and we've sort of like realized that the current platform model is quite broken. So first of all, the platforms seem to be exploiting content creators. For example, Meta with Facebook and Instagram, they are basically monetizing other people's content, and they are not giving anything back basically to the creators themselves. Some other platforms are a little bit more generous in a way that they can return 50%, 60% of the revenue that the platform is creating with that particular content. So it's not very fair for the creators. So we sort of like our sort of vision is to build something that would make the future internet more equitable and more democratic. And that means that we have to find out new ways how value is exchanged in the internet, and what are the mechanisms with those. The road to do this on a instant messaging service is also a little bit longer story, in a way that in sort of like previous ways, we've looked at different ways how people could take ownership of their identities and their content and their social graph. And soon it became pretty evident that the answer is decentralized technologies, distributed ledger technologies, and blockchain. And this is how we came to the idea that, okay, we can tokenize all interactions in exchanges between people if we build it in a correct way. This is not a very easy task, and the challenge is that most your mainstream users, they are so used to the utility and ease of using the platforms, and Web3 and decentralized technologies are still in their infancy and very cumbersome in this regard. So the challenge is to build something that the user experience would be pretty similar to what we have been used to in Web 2, but also give you the advantages of decentralized technologies and the ability for you to take ownership of your own identity and your data. So these were the driving forces that started the UNITT, and it quite quickly became evident that chat-based interactions are those that are sort of like also the future of internet in many ways. If we think about like we're currently using iPhones and laptops, but in the future, what would be the sort of the next user experience on internet in all, and that's very likely to be chat based. So what was the better way to start with a chat based user experience for this kind of value exchange?
Yeah, so it's the kind of funny thing, we never set up first to build a messenger service or anything, instant messenger, anything like that. It wasn't that we need another one, we need an alternative for WhatsApp or Telegram, something. That's not What we wanted is that we need an alternative on the monetization. How do you monetize activity that's happening on the internet? Now we give all the money to 2 platforms, 3 platforms. How can it work better? And almost like a result is that the user interface of that for most exchanges of content is like the most that makes sense is this kind of instant messaging service. So that's really, it's all about how do we make the value transfer easiest.
Right. So you started with exploring activities, interactions, but then as time moved on, you specifically focused on the interactions and chat-based interactions specifically.
Correct, because it's one of these things that, okay, how do you let's say that you follow some bloggers or some others who send you a newsletter on an email. Now it's free. They obviously try and sell ads to that newsletter or try to get you as a subscriber or some other kind of way. But anyway, they make no money out of the newsletter they actually send to you via email. How can we make that they could actually make money out of the email so that they could just focus on the newsletter and not so much of like, can I sell ad space or something like that in there? So that's the kind of the whole came out that let's tokenize that message so that in order for me to read whatever you send me, I have to pay you for that. And that's the kind of like the whole thing was born. So, you send you, and every time somebody opens and reads your newsletter, you're going to get paid. It can be, pennies, or it can be fractions of a cent or something like that. What's paid for each one, depending, how the creator wants to set that up. And this is why also we need a kind of decentralization. We need some kind of different tokenized model, because we can't run a credit card if I charge you, 1 cent, and then the credit card company takes 45, 50 cents on fees on that. Then that doesn't work. So we need some other model. Hence, it has to be tokenized. It has to be decentralized. What we build.
There had been a lot of talk in the industry like 10, 15 years ago already about these micropayments, but they never sort of realized the as we like to say, the 20th century financial mechanisms are not fit anymore to the 21st century internet and exchange of value. And of course, like the traditional credit card companies and traditional finance and banking, they leave out billions of people. They are like most of the developing country people, they are unbanked. So they are left out of the internet and digital economy. So sometimes we are very sort of like a Western world centric in a way when we think about future applications and mechanisms, and we leave out a lot of people who are not able to take part in this kind of digital economy.
Right. So it's a much more global and inclusive approach to payments. And also it's a totally innovative way to build on the prevailing payment system and ad-based system that ran in traditional media for, the last century, really, because as we move away from, these major media conglomerates and into a creator economy, it seems like this is just a way or a vehicle for individual creators to step up and be more inclusive and get payments on a really granular level for the content that they're putting out, and not so much focus on like the whole front page ad sort of model that was prevailing in the 20th century.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, and it's worth noticing that that even though that we are sort of like on a like a little crusade against the platforms in one sense, we don't feel that the platforms are not actually our competitors, but rather enablers. So if you are a influencer or content creator and you have a strong community in one platform, you will of course leverage it, just like for example many video bloggers do. They put up their content to YouTube where it's free to watch it, and then they try to sort of like upsell their premium content through other platforms like Patreon or these subscription based platforms. The problem only being that that like 99% of creators and influencers communities usually don't subscribe. But we are hoping to tap into that revenue stream in a way that UNITT offers a very easy to onboard way for creators to upsell their premium content on a pay-per-view basis. So, for example, I would like upload a video to YouTube, and all the audience watching it, then I would like to ask them that if you want to hear more or receive this premium content, then go to UNITT and buy it from there. And that gives me like 98% of the revenue, so not 40, 60 or something like that.
Exactly, and it's also kind of consumers, like how many times you've gone through and somebody links an interesting article, you go there and you realize it's behind a paywall. Well, you're not going to subscribe to every time you see somebody on a kind of like a premium newspaper or something like that. You're not going to subscribe and all that. You're just not going to read that article then. So it's very inefficient the way that we do at the moment. That it's a sort of like it's all you can eat buffet for those who pay for the subscriptions, and then it's kind of very little for those who don't want to do. And then you end up with this sort of decisions that, okay, I might have my, whatever, New York Times on your Wall Street Journal, whatever you might have, I subscribe to that, but I can't afford to do all of these others. So I follow and Substack this blogger, but I can't afford to do all of that, even though I kind of like what that person is writing either and all that. So even for a consumer, it makes it a lot easier that I can get the premium content whenever time, and I'm actually going to pay, what it's worth for the creator. So, it could be, okay, I'll pay you 5 cents or 15 cents to read this article on your magazine or something like that. That's fine. I just watch half an ad or a couple of ads and all that sort of thing, and I continue.
So why did you decide to build this on Kadena? What made you choose the Kadena blockchain over other blockchains?
I think I can take this. So when we were deciding on the technology, there were a couple of things that are some constraints for us. For example, since we're building a instant messaging application and content syndication platform where we deal with micropayments, and also we want to have a UX, user experience that's close to what the Web 2 users have been accustomed to. We couldn't have a solution or technology that's too expensive per transaction or too slow. So we needed something that's, and also the transactions should be sort of, the cost should be pretty similar from today to tomorrow and so on. So we needed something that's scalable. We needed something that's fast, and where the gas fees are predictable and low. And also, we didn't want something that was too new, like that hasn't been proven, because if it's in any technology, I think it's good to be slightly conservative when you're building something and you and people are supposed to use it and it's supposed to work. So if you pick a technology that's super new, you don't know if it's still there in a year's time, and even if the blockchain would be there, will there be updates and bug fixes? Will there be material for devs to learn it and so on? So we needed something that's already a proven technology on some level, and there's material to be able to learn that and so on, to onboard devs and so on. So those were sort of some considerations. Also, since we're dealing with money and we're dealing with people's information and so on, we needed something that's secure. So we didn't want to have a technology that's been hacked so many times that billions of dollars have been lost. So we needed something secure, something with low transaction costs, approved technology, and Kadena and Pact checked all those boxes for us. Also, there's of course there was the bonus that Pact is relatively easy to learn and it's readable. So all of us, all of the founders, for example, are able to understand what's happening on the smart contracts, and as well as the consumers or the users of our contracts are able to read them. So there's a sort of transparency there that's very useful. And I think also, at least for me personally, was the sort of, when looking at the community, Kadena community seemed, how would I say, approachable and active. So there was a lot of, it was very easy to find answers to questions and ask things, and just, you know, the gut feeling was good about Kadena. And also of course, we looked through a lot of the interviews and videos of the Kadena's founders and core team and so on. It just seemed, let's say, reliable. And also, I would say there was more sort of actual substance there instead of hype, which just means that it's going to be there and it's going somewhere and it's sort of on the safe hands. So our product is based on a technology that's in safe hands, and there's a clear roadmap and so on. So those are some of the things that, at least I think for me and us, were points of consideration and selling points for Kadena.
Totally. With how consumer-facing UNITT is, and the element of the person experiencing and having a good experience while using a messaging app, you know, you talked about gas fees, like the user experience and gas fees in general could be a huge turnoff for people that are using Web3 for the first time. So, you know, Kadena's predictably low gas fees, as you said, are really a way to sort of mitigate that poor user experience and just make it a lot easier for anyone to use an application like UNITT and not have to worry about, am I going to be paying this, you know, high gas fee every time I want to have an interaction? You know, it takes that element away from it.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the point of a micropayment. If the gas fee is then a multiple of the actual fee, what we are trying to achieve is that all of the money, or as much, you know, almost all of the money, as much as possible, goes to the actual creator, whoever creates the value, and not then to somewhere. So, you know, it's gas fees, so that's why they're kind of it would be a kind of the whole business case killer. The whole purpose would be if you had high gas fees, which kind of rules things like Ethereum out or something like that.
Yeah, so I was just wanting to add that again we come to the issue of like ease of onboarding. So we've devised the onboarding, how a user takes UNITT, starts using UNITT, to be as simple as possible. So we ask only very few things, come up with a username, and that's about it. So currently, I think that many Web3 projects are not suitable for those who are sort of like crypto illiterate. You need to know how to set up wallets, and you need to how to buy Ethereum or some other token to start using some of the decentralized social applications that are around there. And we feel that is not the correct way to tap into the mass market. the onboarding needs to be exactly, if not easier, than the current platform are providing.
I suspect that onboarding in UNITT at the moment is actually simpler and quicker than starting with a WhatsApp from scratch. We don't really ask anything, and there's only a few minutes of transaction delay when the account is created, and that's it.
We don't send any confirmation codes to your telephone number or something like that.
So you were the recipient of a Kadena grant. So what was covered since the grant was announced, and what have you developed from the last time there was a call for the grant?
So yeah, I think so. We were in at the time when this was announced. We were in a similar sort of a spotlight interview and all that, and obviously there's a great deal that has happened since. At that point, we didn't like the alpha version that we had. It was still in our kind of like in our own developer environment, so it wasn't deployed on a test net yet. So since then, we've done that to get the beats on the testnet. That actually required quite a lot of going back to the user experience and get the sort of like the Web3 trade-off, Web2 requirements. We needed to do a lot of kind of reconfiguring work to solve for some of the issues around block time delay. Because if we have, for instance, that we have a content, we exchange content for tokens, so we can't necessarily, if somebody sends you a message and you click yes, I want to read this message, and you're willing to pay for that, you don't want to wait for 3 minutes for the block time delay for it to do and for it to be open and all that. So all of that would have been kind of usability killers completely. So we needed to do quite a lot of the sort of like almost re-engineering work in terms of like getting that almost like creating our own layer 2 our own layer 2 to sort of like fix all of that. But that all of that has been done. Obviously, there's a great deal of a functions and feature like functionality and all that sort of things when it comes to get it to the point when it's sort of like an alpha level prototype into a testnet working organized testnet compliant, or like works on an actual testnet with actual smart contract. So those has been a big ones. We ran our beta testing. We've onboarded a lot of the kind of Kadena community. Hopefully a lot of the I'm sure that a lot of the viewers of this interview spotlight is going to be among our kind of testers as well and can vouch for that. So this has been the kind of like the major thing, really getting an actual working product out. And of course, we are still working on, going and continue to work on the sort of mainnet release and all that sort of thing, which is yet to become.
So you've been really on the ground talking to a lot of people in the community, and the community's been testing really alongside of you as you've been building it, getting iterative feedback the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially we were doing a lot of internal beta testing up until sort of February. And from February onwards, we started to onboard people who are not friends and family, people who don't have to be nice to us, and who are really kind of like giving the actual feedback and where they want to use that and all that. And that has been great. I think the sort of fantastic thing is that everybody gets this exactly what it is. All of the feedback that we tend to get, all of them make sense. Some of them we've done already because it's been easy to do and all that. Some of them will be on the roadmap because it's a little bit more extensive work to do and all that. But it's a kind of like a great validation from the user base, is that firstly they get what we're trying to do, and secondly is that we're now at the stage where they are telling us what this needs rather than us thinking what the users might need. So it also means that we are spending more of our time on something which is relevant for the users rather than what we think is relevant for the users.
I might also add that it has been a challenge in that sense that if we think about WhatsApp, when WhatsApp came some 15 plus years ago, it was sort of doing exactly the same thing that the text messaging was doing. So sending just, back and forth messages. And for example, during that time, we in Finland, we enjoyed very cheap text messaging packages. And for many of us, it was like, why would I use WhatsApp? Because like the text messaging is already free. But we didn't understand that this was important for those people around the world with very expensive mobile phone contracts. So they needed a way of messaging through Wi-Fi, and it made sense. It was much more cheap and so on. But the point being that WhatsApp was very rudimentary, and all these 15 years they have added more features, more functionalities, more deep user experience. They've had some competition from Signal, Telegram, and Line, and WeChat, and all those things, who have even more, created a completely a much more wider user experience with all kinds of like group chatting and emojis and stickers and what have you. And the problem is that when we come with a totally new technology, this time like decentralized messaging application, people expect the similar user experience. So it's to go to that level that you have at least a little bit of chance of getting your product through. You need to have most of the features that people are used to in those centralized platforms and centralized services. And this has been really a big challenge, and we've tried our best. For example, our community asked to bring reactions, because that's something that people have already used to. That wasn't in the WhatsApp way back when, but it's there now, and that's what people expect. So we had to deliver, and now we have reactions in UNITT. But like I hope that the users and the community can appreciate that doing all this is not an easy task. It's really a big thing to do, to copy the Web 2 type of user experience on top of the challenges that being a decentralized application means.
Yeah, exactly. So we are working on it, but it's not it's not a 2-week turnaround always.
Sure. But yeah, I can imagine that it's difficult to balance giving people the Web 2 sort of experience, the interface that they're used to, while telling them, hey, you should use this decentralized application that is more secure, that is autonomous and allows you to own your data and have more control over your data. I can imagine that that's a challenge to even convince people to care, to want to use to own their own data.
And it's also the kind of, and this is a challenge on, well, a challenge, it's an interesting one, but if we're looking at a kind of like a mass adoption, the truth is that vast majority of people don't care about data or anything like that. They don't know data. They don't care about platform economies or what's fair or something like that. They just use it because they need a certain thing and all that. So the only way for us or anybody
fun and utility,
is that you has to have some, exactly, fun. It has to be useful and it has to be fun, or something it has to bring in there. But at the same time, then there's a question of like, how much are they willing to sacrifice or give up on the user experience in order to get something like that? And we'll see in the coming months.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of the next coming months, what are some of the major milestones or updates that you guys will have in the future that you're looking forward to?
I think the next major release will have most of the features that people expect to have in this sort of instant messaging app. All the sort of relevant things like following your favorite authors, contacting your followers and so on, and instant messaging features as well. But we also need to have things that are not necessarily in other instant messaging apps. For example, we've added in-app purchase to buy units directly from the app. We've added integration to other systems. So, for example, users can contact the UNITT team directly from the app. But also, in terms of the decentralized model, we need to add, for example, exporting functionality, so you can export your data of the app, for example, your contacts and so on. So it would be actually possible then to take your information and store it somewhere. We do have and this is something that, because it's a decentralized solution and we're not storing users' data, many of the users might not be familiar with the idea of sort of owning your data, and in owning it, you are responsible for it. So we also provide a backup feature that does back up the user's data to our server, but it's of course heavily encrypted, so we can't open it or anything like that. But just for the sort of Web 2.5 experience, that even though it's a decentralized app, you can still rest easy that your data is being backed up somewhere without you having to do that. If you want, you can opt out, of course, simply by toggling a switch there. But yeah, I think, I mean, in the pipeline, of course, we have a lot of exciting features, and it's since we're building a sort of new technology and exploring new ground, there's all kinds of ideas that pop up quite often, and we sort of have to then balance, like, is this, how much work will this be, how relevant is this, and so on. So I'm not gonna say what those are, because we don't know if they're going to happen, but there will be some interesting stuff coming up there. And also we hope to utilize new Kadena technologies as well, and of course we're getting constantly feedback from the community, which is super valuable. So we always sort of try to navigate with that as well. So everybody who's watching and listening into this, please let us know what you think and what kind of features would you expect to have.
Yeah, and if we are talking about like very short-term roadmap, so we are currently doing a whitelisting process for our private pre-sale of the UNITT token. The idea is, first of all, get the community engaged, also get in some value for the token, and then we are ready to the actual product launch on Kadena mainnet. We hope that our sort of first and initial user base will be heavily based around the Kadena ecosystem and the Kadena community. With crypto projects, the community building is very important thing, and there seems to be like two go-to platforms at the moment that are getting all the action, namely Discord and Telegram. Well, our great plan is to at least with our own community and Kadena community, maybe to make it so that you wouldn't need those platforms anymore, but you would have a unit where you have a system of building communities and exchanging value in a decentralized application that is built on top of the Kadena blockchain. So that's the big shining goal that we are strongly working towards. Of course, when the mainnet launch is imminent and done, then we really have to concentrate on the go-to-market with the larger audience and the sort of like a mainstream adoption. We have been following very closely for some other decentralized social project and messaging project what have been their approaches, but this time we are probably a bit or quite a bit different in that sense that we are aiming the creators first. Just as I explained a little bit earlier, we don't want to compete against the current platforms. They are not our competitors, they are our enablers. We need to reach out to those creators and incentivize them to upsell their premium content through UNITT. And that is the basic go-to-market strategy going forward. Hopefully, that would mean a lot of new users to Kadena blockchain, and also we would really put to test the Kadena's ability to scale up, which I think is proven already, and that is the reason we chose Kadena is that if and when we are able to go to the mainstream market, then we really need the ability to scale up the service quite quickly. Of course, like many these kind of services, we also need to take into consideration the challenges of scaling up, and that's why we are going to most probably introduce a invitational system, just like you might remember some centralized platforms like Clubhouse, or let's say the email client Superhuman, who needed to contain a bit the enthusiasm of the community to keep it controlled, how many people start using it. And this is something that we are looking also to make sure that our technology is robust and we are also able to scale with Kadena to provide that service in the future.
Right. So it makes sense as to why you chose Kadena for this element of scalability that could happen if the creators that you're going to invite are able to bring their communities over, and it's sort of this network effect that just compounds and grows. So, it totally makes sense why you would choose Kadena to do that. And I like the invite only sort of controlled burn approach that you're taking for your GTM. I think that really has shown to work in other iterations, like you mentioned, like Clubhouse. I miss Clubhouse. I remember going on there back in the day. But yeah, it seems like it could really work, and I appreciate the strategy. But just to wrap up here, I would love to see a demo of UNITT if you guys are willing to show it off.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. So let me just get a going. Great. So just showing you like a couple of the things, what we can do. So I'm just kind of open the UNITT here. So there's a PIN code you set when you register for the full time. So this is a kind of just a very simple. It sort of looks like an instant messaging app would do. We have in the bottom here different types of. So we have the messages here. All of these are people have managed to kind of get in touch during the beta side. It's very easy if I'm thinking about something like how do we send messages? How do I, for instance, request funds or pay funds and all that? So this is Pekka now. I don't know if he's able then to sort of maybe respond, but if I do, for instance, very simply, I want to ask for a unit. So I'm sending my newsletter. I'm just going to write news. letter here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see like that it goes a little bit the what the text is. But basically I can set here, I can either send units. So this is if I want to send Pekka some units to open my interesting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 newsletter, or I can request. So this is what Pekka needs to pay me in order to see this message. So I'm going to request UTT, and let me just put like, for I'm now at 125. You can see on the top left corner 125-ish units. So let me put one more. So I should be, once Pekka approves, that at 130. So that's it, that's sent. So this is all what matters. So Pekka will then eventually see that, and in order for him to see the full message, he will then have to pay my requested 5 unit tokens.
I will accept your offer, and there it goes.
Okay, so we'll see, and this is now takes a little bit of time before it sort of sees it kind of like goes, via blockchain, so that it actually updates the balance, but that's fine. The other thing which we talked about, for instance, is when you're actually paying for content, and we were talking about integration with AI. So what we have done here as well is integrate this with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is automatically in your contacts when you start it for the first time. So let me just open. You can see my discussion with ChatGPT in the past. So let me just ask something here, like what is Kadena? And I'm going to send it now to ChatGPT. And you can see that it's sort of thinking back, and the idea is obviously that any type of these engagement, whether it's with a bot, whether it's a human being, and all that kind of thing, is that could be paid. And if you think about AI payments, for instance, whether it's generating pictures or generating answers, this is the sort of like, the easiest way to pay that. So now we can see that there's an answer that came through. It's asking to pay 2 unit tokens for this. And we have actually set this up in a way that the longer the answer, the more units it asks. I think the minimum is 1. And if it's a sort of, let's see, how long is this answer? And there you go. So I now paid 2 units, which left, and at the same time Pekka's 5 units came as well. So now we're at 128 units, and this is now the answer that ChatGPT gave us. So that's the way for them to monetize that simply. We also talked about the discovery. So this is a way for any user, and this is a kind of key thing with us as well, is that we don't have like a business accounts or creator accounts or consumer accounts. Everybody has exactly the same functionality and all that. Every one of us can be an advertiser, creator, consumer, and so forth. So within here, the discovery, what this enables to sharing of content in a way which isn't coming through a chat. So I can post content. I will show you in a moment how it's done. But over here, we have some features that we put in, for instance, messages. And what this simply is, it's a link to the source of the content. So this is actually on our website, a specific article, which is just available here. And again, so whoever owns this content, if they want to change it or something like that, they can do it. And the app and UNITT, we have nothing to do with this. So let me just see something. Earlier I put in sorry, this sort of like threw me out. So let's go back. Discovery on the search here, and we have our own website sort of like on the discovery for several times for demonstration purposes. But this is how it would look like. So I search for UNITT, and I'm getting some articles coming here. So this is very simply, I just need to pay 2 units to view this. And there's several of these articles in there. I'm happy with the top one, so I'm just going to pay 2 units. So it starts to sort of execute that and opens then the content that we have in there. We actually also have a video which starts automatically. So this is now the content. And for this one, we paid 2 units to see. and now it's available there. So it's a sort of, as simple as you can do, and it's the sort of like just the way of the payment mechanism. And very simply, how do you publish content? There's a big green plus here, and we put here the URL. So everything what this does, the smart contracts, Mikko can probably explain in better detail than I do, but it's basically encrypts this URL in a smart contract and then reveals that once the payment has been accepted. So what I can do, let me just do our oops, sorry, hit the wrong button. UNITT like that. Continue. Now it seeks and takes the metadata from our website here, and I have basically 3 options. I can share it for free. I can request tokens. So this is that I want to make money from reading my content, or I can pay content. So if I'm an advertiser, I will pay every reader to read this, and I put in how much pay-per-view is, like how much money they have to pay me, how many units they have to pay me to open this, and then the max budget, like how much money I'm willing to bet. So once the budget has run out, then you can't make money anymore with that. We also have at the moment there's a fee in terms of sharing, which is 5 units. This we put in there simply to at least at the start, to kind of not encourage or discourage spammers. Somebody who would put in like thousands and thousands of like spammy links in there. So there's a little bit of a skin in the game for everybody to publish. So price per view, let me put in 3, and I hit publish, and it will then start to basically create that smart contract, and it will let me know once it's live, and when it's live, then obviously everybody else can find it and pay money to me by reading my content. So that's it, kind of like a quick sort of like 100 miles an hour sort of like a tour, but it's not really that complicated to begin with. So I don't know if you have any questions, Drew, on that.
Just one quick question, because I know we're over our time a little bit. Is there a group chat function?
What we have here is a broadcasting function. So what I can do here is I can start a list, and I can just add here, whoever, might be sort of, my sort of contacts, whatever that might be, or even actually all of my contacts. So this is again kind of, it's similarly to kind of broadcast functions on other things. And the idea is that because primarily this would be used to begin with in a sort of monetization purposes. So this would be the way for me to send a message, for instance, that I would then request tokens. So I would pay, if I'm a brand, if I'm a business, I want to kind of engage my customers and incentivize my customers. I can pay or I can request. So that's what it's for. The actual group chat, in a way that we understand that we create 2 groups and everybody can contribute, that's still on a roadmap. So that's coming in. We need to think a little bit like, how the monetization and economics work for that, or do we just exclude that monetization to begin with on that? But that's basically what we are.
But yeah, this is really cool, guys. Seriously, the potential to essentially put like a paywall for any sort of site that you have content on, even if the site natively doesn't allow for that, but you can add that as a function with you and your followers, if you're a content creator, or even on an individual level, I think it has a lot of potential. So yeah, this is awesome, and I'm excited to see where you guys go, and I'll definitely continue to keep an eye on UNITT's journey.
Absolutely, and we'll keep everybody as well, and hopefully we will be on mainnet and a public launch in the next couple of months.
Great. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and just thank you guys so much for your time today and coming to talk with us for an hour or so here. This is great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for your time, and thanks for having us.
All right, this has been another awesome episode of the Kadena Grantee Spotlight. Tune in again soon.